It is absolutely cuckoo for bonkers puffs to me how bad things have gotten in gaming. From pay to win, this is ridiculous and I will die on that hill, to the dookie stains called cheaters. Wow, you gotta be a final boss type of loser to actually buy any of this crap. To watered down content.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me.
It just doesn't seem to end. I've obviously known about and criticized scummy business practices in the gaming industry for a while now, but piling them all up into one dookie mound for this video actually gave me the sad. What's up guys, my name is Goo. I make commentary style videos on the latest games released, and today we're revisiting Arc Raiders because I just don't want to play Catching Cooties Black Ops 7. If you watched my original video on Arc, then you know I kinda sorta did a comparison type deal with other extraction shooters. This time around, I'm gonna be focusing more on the latest updates and patches and changes that made me go, wow, a game that actually seems to care about its player base. But like I mentioned before, it's not all gonna be bunnies and rainbows for this video. I'm also gonna be going over the bad. Why do I sound like a goat? Not just in this game specifically, but more like bigger picture. Some of this stuff might actually make you cry. Here, I have some tissues for you if you need them. Ew, don't use them for that. We're starting off spicy here with pay to win in gaming. As we all know, pay to win is a feature, or I don't really want to call it a feature. Let's call it a fuckery that is designed to be predatory and completely anti-consumer. Here's what baffles me though. Over my time on the internet, I've had some hate about all sorts of types of shit. I criticize the game people like, bam, hate. I like the game people hated, bam, hate. I exist, bam, hate. But none of that ever really bothered me. There is one thing that has stuck with me over the years though, and that is when I said there's pay to win systems in a game and everybody came at me sideways in the comments calling me a blibbering idiot, blathering, whatever the fuck. I may be a blabbering idiot, but not because of this. To give you specifics, it was on my X-Defiant video, and I've brought this up so many times now, but I just can't seem to get over it. I stated that putting a class that gave you any sorts of different abilities and affected the core game behind a grind wall that you can skip by paying money was pay to win.
X-Defiant will continue to deliver an accelerating experience that will always be free to play and never pay to win.
Oh, but it's not pay to win because you can unlock it by playing. It's not a direct advantage. You must be ass at this game because you think it's hard to earn this class. Blah, 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 blah. My two remaining brain cells went into a panic reading these comments, squirming around with their little brain cell asses on fire because I just couldn't comprehend how this is somehow defended by the very people it negatively affects. Introducing a paid skip button for intentionally inflated grind, no matter what the fucking thing it is to skip, if it changes the gameplay whatsoever, it is pay to win. It gives those who are willing to throw away that extra cash an advantage over those who aren't and have to sit there and earn a bagillion jillion XP to get the same fucking thing. Even if it's not something that gives you directly a leg up over everybody else, it's still an advantage because it's something that you have that others don't, that you skipped with money. It's pay to win. This is ridiculous and I will die on that hill. I'm crashing out a little bit. I'm sorry. Oh. Bring it back down now. So why is this the one thing that bothers me out of everything else thrown at me? Well, if we're sitting here defending things like this as a community, even if it's not the entire community, companies will get these big boing cartoon money signs on their eyeballs and continue to push boundaries to see what they can get away with. Look at Battlefront and their shitty grind/paywall practices that basically ruin the game. I've heard 2K games are really bad. I don't know. I don't play those games, but I heard they're riddled with like advantages and microtransactions for the my career and my play whatevers. I don't know. It's not just the obvious buy this to get an advantage. They hide it behind you can earn this really sweet thing by grinding and playing a lot, or you could just pay for it now and have that advantage over everybody that hasn't paid for it. Congrats, you have the meta. Embark, the development studio behind Arc Raiders, if you didn't already know, recently responded to some pay to win backlash. It was honestly just a big misunderstanding, a big whoopsie fucksy. The decks, or their version of a battle pass, has items that you can earn while playing. Essentially, people thought that you could skip through it by paying real money and getting those items faster, but the devs directly addressed this by stating that the only things you're able to buy your way through are in the premium deck, which is strictly skins and other cosmetics. Bam! It's as easy as that. If you can spend money in a game, if you have microtransactions, just make them cosmetic. Make it so that people can look bonita and then end it there. I don't personally love the idea of microtransactions, right? Especially in a paid game, but I'm not going to give them shit for earning that bag while keeping the core gameplay unpolluted. Use that money wisely. I hope they use it to make the game better in the future. Speaking of looking bonita, overpriced microtransactions are another doo-doo caca stink in the fart cloud of anti-consumer practices. And no, unfortunately, Arc Raiders is not exempt from this. Their skins were sold at ridiculous prices at launch, and they're all bum fucking ugly, dude. Mostly in my opinion. My buddy was trying to show me a skin that he spent real money on, and I was like, did you buy this with your monitor turned off? What the fuck? They've since reduced prices of skins and refunded players in the form of in-game currency for what they essentially already overpaid. And what I personally really liked about what they did is that they proactively refunded that amount back. You don't have to like do anything. It's just in your account. If that was EA, you would have had to create an account on their website, sent in a blood sacrifice, promise them your firstborn, perform a rain dance, apply for 10 years of EA newsletters, submit a ticket, and wait 37 business days for them to just respond with an error message. There is a possibility that we're being bamboozled here by a PR tactic called anchoring, which I recently learned about through college Reddit. The anchoring negotiation tactic involves setting an initial price point to influence the final agreement. By making the first offer, a seller can set a high anchor, which influences the buyer's perception and makes subsequent concessions seem more reasonable. I do indeed know some of these words. The Unga Bunga version of this is basically set a big price, people go, ew. Reduce the price, people go, ooh. It's a marketing tactic and it is kind of scummy, but I can't say for sure that they did this rather than just, listening to player feedback, and that's why they lowered the prices. This thing says someone needs to send Blizzard a reminder. They forgot to lower their skin prices after the initial anchoring of $25+ skins on a game that cost $70+. Unlocking skins is pretty straightforward in Arc Raiders, and it seems to be one of the few live service games that didn't come out with loot boxes, card packs, or gacha mechanics that have incredibly low drop rates. This shit is just straight up gambling, and there's no other way to put it. If you don't think it is, come on. Be for real. In gaming, these things encourage unhealthy spending. It hides the true cost of obtaining an item and often targets younger audiences, which is gross. You wouldn't load up a 9-year-old with cash and set them loose in a casino, but you'll give them your credit card to buy some loot boxes. I guess they gotta grow up sometime. And don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed opening a loot box in my lifetime. I've experienced the little adrenaline rush you get from getting a legendary or something like that, getting addicted to that feeling, spending thousands, taking a loan out on my house, abandoning my husband and kids, losing my job, working the corner at 7-Eleven just to get that cash for one more loot box. I've been there, done that. But I can live with one game at least not having that mechanic that comes out in 2025. It's fine. If you guys don't know I'm joking, please understand that I'm joking. I don't have any kids. I don't know if loot boxes will be a thing in the future for Arc Raiders, but at least for now they're not there, so hopefully it stays that way. Unfortunately for our next topic, it's nearly impossible to wipe off the shit stains in humanity that want to cheat in competitive games. That's why it's so important for these companies to take responsibility and ensure that their games are protected as much as they can with solid anti-cheat systems. From what I understand and what I've read, I guess, Arc Raiders has pulled out the big cojones, layering several anti-cheat systems on top of each other to create, quote, an environment where gameplay is all about skill, teamwork, and fun. Fucking nerds. But yes, please continue to do that. This is all good and dandy, but I'm not going to praise them for doing something that I think should be the standard in every shooter. I will tickle their balls, however, for taking it a step further and returning your loot if you're killed by a cheater. I think it's rare to see studios taking steps like that to ensure that their player base is taken care of, and it gives off mega PP energy. I'm about to do something disgusting. I'm gonna look up how much these losers are paying for the cheats in this game. I need to make it clear though that I'm not gonna be purchasing or doing any sort of tests where I try cheats out at all. Okay, matter of fact, I'll blur all this shit out so I'm not promoting these sewer-dwelling gremlins that are making these cheats. Wow, you gotta be a final boss type of loser to actually buy any of this crap, man. This is so expensive. Matter of fact, make it more expensive so people stop buying into this bullshit. Make cheating unaffordable. I did do this in incognito mode because this is worse than watching prawn. Unfinished games releasing at full price makes about as much sense as selling a car with 3 tires installed. With your average AAA title costing the big $70 bills, it's so fucking disheartening booting up a watered down unfinished piece of shit. It hits you like that bus hit Regina George. Things like day one paid DLC or season passes announced before the games even launch is ridiculous, and it's been happening for ages now. I mean, look at Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which came out in 2012, and paid characters were literally discovered on the disc at launch. If those characters were already made, they should have been on the game instead of holding them out just because you want to make some extra money. It's just so scummy. Missing things like promise systems and modes, or just the game running like a grandma on crutches, happens way more often than it should in games. And these games shouldn't rely on post-launch patches to make it run properly, rather than just releasing a fucking quality product from the beginning. Now, it's not like Arc Raiders Raiders hasn't had its issues or hasn't had patches to fix said issues, but the overall product worked as intended on release. The balance changes that have come have been welcomed for the most part by the community because it's a product of the developer listening to feedback from its player base. One example of this is them silently introducing duo queue prioritization. If you didn't know, playing duos before sucked nuts because you'd be fighting teams of 3. It was like built-in third party. Now, if you only have one friend to play with, you're not going to get skewered, deep fried, and sold at a discount. You have a fair fighting chance. They've also added disconnection protection, rapid nerfs to OP systems and weapons, fixed exploits, fixed spawns for AI, added loot value buffs in places that didn't feel worth going to, balance changes in drop tables, more PvE activities, and just so many other things that I cannot be bothered to write down from the pages and pages of patch notes that I've read. My head hurts. All of these changes are essentially based on community feedback, which is fucking awesome. It's almost like listening to the people that are playing your game will make them like your game more. Wow. The future in Arc Raiders may not be set in stone, but honestly, it's looking nice.
Once the game's live, we see how players are engaging with the game loop we have, the game mode we have. I think it's only natural to look toward the future into how we evolve that experience, because I can't say for sure that the game will subsist forever on the format we have today, but I think if you've taken a moment in any one of these sessions and stood still and listened to the low soundtrack and the wind and the trees and looked on these environments, that this game can hold so much more than just the game mode we have today, however compelling it might be. And I think it'd almost be a waste of what we've built to keep it there.
Just knowing that the devs aren't dead set on one thing and they're willing to adapt the game to what the player base would want in the future is a breath of fresh, breezy ocean spit. So while Arc Raiders may not be perfect, it is still pretty damn good. Not good enough to be a Game of the Year contender though, apparently. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry that it took me so long to post it. I know I'm not on my weekly schedule this video, but my brain was buffering for a while. Yeah. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much for everything, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. If you would have told me a year ago that I'd be spending an ungodly amount of time enjoying an apocalyptic grocery shopping simulator, I would have called you a liar.